Man, it's good to be back in church. Just miss it when I'm not here. Very seldom I'm not here. I'm here every day. If you want to come by, I'm here. And if I don't answer the door, it was because I didn't want to see you. Because I see you when you drive the driveway. No, I'm kidding about that. I would never do that. I would never do that. God is good to us. I'm telling you. I got so many compliments on the service, your Sunday school lesson last Sunday. Right. And your singing, yours and Michelle's. I'm telling you, I'm thinking, Lord, I better not let them sing much. They're going to be voting me out, voting them in. They probably won't, because I tried to get them to do that years ago and they didn't do it. But sure enough, teaching the word of the Lord, talking about following God and being a follower. What was that the name? Focus on following, right. And we was always taught by our pastor that if you couldn't be a follower, you couldn't be a leader. That you had to first learn how to follow before you could lead. That's good advice. Pastor said if that's not Bible, it ought to be. If that's not Scripture, it ought to be Scripture. Matthew chapter 25, verse 14, Brother Mark, if you would. And for the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability. And straightway took his journey. That means he gave them what he felt like they could handle. Then he that had received 5 went and traded with the same, 5 talents, went and traded with the same and made them other 5 talents. That was good stuff. And likewise, he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. But he that received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. After a long time, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoned with them. And I'm going to stop my reading there. And I want to talk tonight on sowing produces reaping. Sowing produces reaping. Sing a chorus if you would. Lay your Bibles down. Lift your hands to Jesus. God, we appreciate you tonight. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. For leading us, Lord. Can't make it, Lord, without you. Can't even teach this lesson without you tonight. Lord, give me the wisdom. Help me to understand more of you, what you would have tonight. In Jesus' name, we thank you tonight. Everybody say amen. You be seated. Thank you for standing. Reaping or sowing produces reaping. In our language, if you sow, you'll reap. Whatever you sow, it may be Bermuda grass, but you'll reap. They told me I couldn't get Bermuda grass up out here in July, but I did. I did. I was testifying to somebody the other day. The lady at the bank asked me, said, how did you get all of that sod out there? I said, what sod? She said, isn't that sod that you? I said, no, ma'am, that's Bermuda grass. I sowed. She said, how did you get it up? It was, I'm not kidding, dust, which Brother Stanley knows, dust was ankle deep. And it was dry as last year's bird nest. And we got out there that morning, my wife and I did, we brought some oil out there and we anointed every bag of that Bermuda seed. We anointed it with oil, did we not? And prayed over it. And I told them that at the bank up there, that lady, she just said, oh. That stopped the question and answer service. She just left and she probably thought, this guy's a nut. But you sow, you'll reap whatever you sow. This matter of sowing and reaping goes two ways. So you can sow good stuff and reap good stuff, or you can sow bad stuff and you'll reap bad stuff. So it's two ways. The Bible says whatever a man sows. It didn't just say if he sows, it said whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. There is a bad side that if you sow to the flesh, you reap destruction. And if you sow to the wind, one writer said, you reap the whirlwind. And then it says that sowing in the Spirit, you reap everlasting life. If you sow to the Spirit. And in another verse also says, you'll reap in due season if you faint not. So sowing and reaping goes two different directions. Sow good stuff, reap good stuff. Sow bad stuff, you'll reap bad stuff. The dark side of sowing, there's sowing to the flesh, that if you sow to the flesh, you'll reap a terrible harvest. You know, they tell you, doctors tell you, signboards on the road tell you, even on the pack it tells you, if you smoke, you choke. It tells you that, roughly. Not in those words, but it tells. So if you sow that, you're going to reap some bad stuff. You drink enough booze, you're going to have liver problems. If somebody don't blow your brains out. Because a person gets to drinking, they think they can whoop King Kong. And there's no way to shut them up. My brother used to say there's two things he couldn't stand: a drunk man when he's sober and a sober man when he's drunk. But whatever you sow, that's what you're going to reap. We can cause ourselves to be unhealthy. We can eat too much. We are unhealthy. Now, I didn't look at nobody when I said that. But so, sowing and reaping. There's always, there's evidence right now in America. If you'll just stop and look around you, there's evidence all around you of this fact that if you sow bad, you're going to reap bad. It's all around us. America right now is reaping a terrible harvest. We've got some problems that we, when I say we, not us in particular, but America has sown bad seed for decades and decades. And now a lot of it is coming home to us. A lot of what America has sown is already evident right now in the harvest that we're seeing in front of our very eyes. What has been sown in America. Not just this virus ordeal. I'm not just talking about that, but that's included. But I'm talking about things that are going on in America. And I know I preach about this a lot. Brother Mark mentions it quite a bit when he preaches, and I think it bears mentioning again that I just can't overlook what is happening in our great country. We can't put our head in the sand and pretend it's going to go away. It's not going to go away. I said it very plain Sunday, I thought, and nobody bragged on it. Just kidding. Just kidding. That America the world is going to continue to be worldly. The world's not going to change. Are we going to change some people in the world? But God didn't call me to save people. He called me to preach the gospel, and He would save the people. Are you understand? And so the world is going to always be worldly. The church has just got to always be churchy. That's the whole ordeal. And I can't overlook the fact that, look at our school system. I remember when I went to school, believe it or not, I can remember that far back. I can remember, and some of you can remember when you went to school. I can just look at the school. We're reaping an awful harvest from years of driving God out of our classrooms. Now we're reaping a harvest that America has sown. We did it. America did it. We can't blame it on no one else. Our school system for years has pushed. Now let me clarify. I'm not talking about our school administration. I'm not talking about our teachers and our superintendents. I'm talking about the system has pushed God out of the picture. We've just all but asked God to stay out of the way, that we can handle it ourselves. Well, we have made a terrible mess of handling it ourselves. In 1940s, just a little over one generation ago, classes opened with prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. I remember that. I can remember that. I was born in 1947. I can remember when we would all stand in the classroom and we would all turn toward the flagpole, and we would recite the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. And then someone, seemingly, I remember, the teacher would lead the class in just a brief prayer. It wasn't no, owl running, foot stomping. It was just a prayer. But all that is just kind of has been asked to leave. All that was asked to leave because we got people here now that are offended at the mentioning of Jesus Christ at the crucifixion. We got Muslims and we got Buddhists and we got all these religions that take it offensive. I've got one word: tough. That's tough. And I've got 2 or 3 more words about it. And you know what they are. If you can't hack it, get your jacket. But we've done this by allowing this, we've asked God. We may have not have said, God, get out of here, but it's the same thing. And so now, because of this, we're reaping a terrible harvest. God's blessings was asked to lead the school system. And we would pray, and I know they're allowed to pray at the flagpole, and I understand that, and I appreciate that. But it's not the same thing. In my opinion, it's not the same thing. That's like me going out there, and me say, y'all wait a minute, I'll be right back. And I go out in the yard and pray and come back in and say, okay, now we can have church. I've had my prayer. It's the same thing. And so we would start the day by asking God's blessings upon the class. Now, granted, most of us big old boys, we would just kind of snigger, but that people was praying. We would ask him the blessings, and we would ask blessings upon the school, and we'd ask blessings upon our lessons, and upon the students, and upon our nation. We prayed this type of a prayer. It was one nation under God at that particular time. We would recite one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. And God was honored in our classroom. You didn't use God's name in vain. You didn't say things of the sort that people say that. You didn't even say a woman was pregnant. Yet he'd slap you in the mouth. Well, what did you say? Nothing. We minded our own business. We said she ate too much. She swallowed a watermelon. But we didn't use. You say, oh, nothing wrong with that. Well, look where we're at. Tell me it wasn't nothing wrong with it. Look where we're at tonight. Now, I'm just going to teach to us tonight. You don't have to shout with me. You shout Sunday. That's where we're at today. One nation under God, and God was honored in that classroom. In that year, that same year of the 1940s, the top 7 disciplinary problems were talking in class, chewing gum, making noise, running in the halls, cutting in the line, improper clothing, and not putting the garbage in the garbage can. That was usually that was pretty much the top, what went on in the classroom. Now there's a lot of things went on and a lot of nobody knew. But these were the things that happened. Today, if you'll check, and I'm right, y'all, I'm right. I know. And we got great teachers. We got great, I think we got a great superintendent. I like Dr. Combs. I think he's a super guy, and I think he's doing a great job. I think he's doing the best the system will let him do. He can only do what he's allowed to do. I asked Johnny Jones one time, I said, why don't you whoop that kid? That's when I drove the big bus. Why don't you whoop that little heathen? He said, I'm not allowed to whoop that little heathen. They can only do so much. Today, a survey was taken recently that's frightening if you listen to it. Listen to it. Top 7 are rape, robbery, assault, burglary, arson, bombing, and murder. Top 7 things that the school system has to deal with today. Almost all of these are related to drug abuse. But you know what? Why not? We ask God to get out. See, God's not there to help control this situation now. I read a story where New York City drug pushers, students, parade the halls wearing gold chains and carrying wads of $100 bills. Restrooms are now shooting galleries and smoking dens in New York City. Don't think too much because it's about that bad here. It's just about that bad here. God was not wanted in the school system anymore. Somehow or another, God just kind of, and that's really not a new ordeal, see, because that's what was the whole problem when Jesus walked on the earth, ladies and gentlemen. That's why the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the doctors of the law didn't like him, because he upset what they thought was they wanted to do, and he turned everything upside down with his teaching. He was totally opposite to them. He said, if you want to get in, get out. If you want to get up, get down. If you want to get rich, get poor. If anybody slaps you in the mouth, turn the other one to him. And they didn't like that kind of teaching. They didn't like it when... That's why Nicodemus, the Pharisee, the teacher of the Jew, the teacher in the synagogue, that's why he came to Jesus by night. He didn't want to be seen. He come to him by night and said, Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher to come from God. No man can do the miracles that thou doest except God be with him. Jesus said, you got to be born again. He said, how can I be born? I'm an old man. He said, you got to be born of water and spirit. He said, you are a teacher in the synagogue. You're a teacher of the Jew, and you don't know that? Boy, if I was a Pentecostal preacher, I'd like to preach against preachers that don't even know the plan of salvation. Yeah. I'd like to preach to those preachers that believe you can go to heaven some way besides Jesus Christ. I'd just like to ask them, doctor, how do you think you're going to get there? The greyhounds don't run in that direction. I wish somebody helped me tonight. So God was not wanted in the school, but the devil was welcome. The devil's crowd was welcome. So in came, when the Lord left, and the devil came, in came on occults, humanism, and doctrines of perversion. It all in it. Illegal sex, if you want to call it that, was glorified. Homosexuality was praised. The liberals called for condoms to be freely distributed in classrooms. Y'all remember all of this. You can remember when all this was being talked about. You remember. I'm not telling you something that I read in a comic book. I'm telling you something that you know is a fact. They called it AIDS protection. I never one time, though, heard anybody from that side of the aisle mention just stay out of the bed with them. It was always giving them some way to keep from getting pregnant. It's very simple. Right. I don't have to, x-ray this class tonight. It's very simple. I never heard that, though. I never heard anybody talk about it. Well, at church, I heard church people talk, but I'm talking about you never heard that on the morning news. Nobody mentioned that on the 5 o'clock after evening news. Wasn't mentioned. It was always some way to try to, they would always, because you know why they were doing it? Because they'd already got God out of the picture, and the devil was in the picture, and the devil's crowd was trying. I'm telling you the gospel, y'all. I'm telling you the gospel. We're still talking about sowing produces reaping. We sowed it, now we're reaping it. They called it AIDS protection, protecting our young people from getting AIDS. Look what we're reaping. You ready? 50% of all births. It's higher than that now. This is a survey I took several years ago. 50% of all births in our city are now what they call illiterate or not legal births. You see what I'm saying? 50%. That ain't all. 1/4 of all pregnancies are now aborted. 22 million. You heard me. 22 million so far in one generation has been aborted. 22 million. We've gone from chewing gum to carrying machine guns. In one school, a student brought an Uzi hidden under his jacket. They used to respect the teachers. We got teachers in this room. Knows that is far, far out. They don't respect themselves, let alone someone else. I was talking with a little old boy from my bus. He had to go to the bathroom. We was sitting there. He was in alternative school, and I was at the Brighton Middle School, and they brought him there to get on my bus to go home. So he was on my bus, and the other kids hadn't come out. It was the Brighton High School, I'm sorry. And the other kids had not come out yet. And he said, I got to go inside. I said, you can't go inside. You can't get off the bus. You're right here. He said, I got to, and I got to use the bathroom. And, of course, he told me what he had to do. And I said, you're not getting off of this bus. He said, I'll go behind the bus. I said, boy, you ought to be in jail. Glad my camera wasn't on. He said, oh, boy. I said, that's where my daddy's at. I said, he's not going to be with my daddy in jail. I'm thinking, no wonder this kid is, and I felt really bad. Seriously, I did when I said you ought to be in jail. But probably we should have been. We're talking about things. 1/4, 22 million aborted. Don't carry gum, they carry machine guns. Carry Uzis. Don't respect their teachers. Don't respect authority. It's the authority. I read a survey, Brother Mark, where you at? Okay, I read a survey, you probably knew this a long time ago, but I read this survey that said a rapist, a man that rapes a woman, is not doing it for sexual pleasure. And I read on, and it said he's doing it for authority. Exercising authority over the lady. No respect. We sold this, y'all. America has sold every bit of this I'm talking to you about. Teachers and authority are not respected. Teachers in New York and other cities live in dread. Dread to go. Some have even been beaten up at school. Police. Can you believe the Munford police had to be called on a student at Munford Elementary? Are you with me? Can you believe Mumford Elementary? Why didn't somebody tie a knot in that boy's neck? Where was Daddy? Where was, never mind where Mama was at, the authority falls on Daddy. Where was Daddy at? How come Daddy didn't get him a plow line? Mr. Adams would have. Mr. Glenn took me to Daddy one day. James Glenn, Brother Stanley, when he pulled up there at my house, I'd been a bad boy that day, and I knew I had. He pulled up there at that house, it was one of the most standard shifts, and he locked that brake and cut that key off. I thought, oh God. He walked up there with me to that door, and he said, you tell your daddy I need to talk to him. And I went and told him, Daddy, come out there, and he said, Mr. Creasy, he said, I can't do a thing with this boy on this bus. My daddy never said, well, you know, if you'd act right, he'd act right. No, he said, he'll be okay tomorrow. And I was. He tore me up, buddy. Well, this boy's daddy was at. I tell you what both of Mom and Daddy was, and I don't even know the kid. I guarantee you both of them was at work. Had two kids two brother and sister missed 3 days at school on my bus when I was driving the big bus. 3 days. When they come back, I said, you guys been sick or what was going on? She said, no, we haven't been sick. Mom and Dad's been out of town. We just stayed out of school. I said, who's been staying with you? Middle school now, middle school. So who's been staying with y'all? But she said, nobody. We've been staying by ourselves. We're reaping what we sow. America is reaping what we sow. When a nation draws a line and dares God to cross it, that's more or less what we did when satanic powers are made welcome. It has to end in a living hell, a devil's playground. It's got to end that way when you take God out of the picture. What about that sexual revolution, they call it, of the last 20 years? What about all this? What's going on? What a harvest we're reaping now for years of sowing to the flesh. The liberal press is corrupt. It's got people corrupt, and they call a new day of sexual freedom. That's why we got so much going on in America. I wish somebody would help me today. Anything goes between consenting adults. I heard it said, I know it's the truth because that person that told me don't lie. I knew it. He was a man of God. I know they don't lie. I knew he wasn't lying. He said a lady came to his church from up north, from one of the northern churches, and he was teaching on adultery and fornication in the church. And when he got through teaching, the lady said, can I speak with you and your wife for a minute? He said, yes. He said they was a good couple, good lady. He said, wasn't a couple. And said, been there several weeks, and we got to his office, and she said, I want you to know, I love this church, and I think a lot of you and your wife, but I don't agree with what you teach. And he said, what do you mean? What are you not agreeing with? She said, my pastor up north taught us that it was okay for the pastor to have sex with any lady in the church if she consented to it, that it was not a sin. We're reaping some things that we've sown. You understand it? This is very important that you understand. Sowing produces reaping. Now we're having a payday. One songwriter wrote a song. The party's over. There's a new incurable disease comes up almost on a regular basis. Sexual disease. Infections affects over 4 million girls in America. And it leaves many of them infertile that cannot have a child because of these diseases. And they got 4,800,000 units of vaccine that's not even killing. We're reaping what we're sowing. There's a new sexual transmitted cancer disease now, they tell me. And the rate of incest is up, 100% in the last 10 years. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine that. It's harvest time, one writer said, in America. It's harvest time. And the end is nowhere in sight. It's not going to end until the Lord comes. We reap what we sow. The worst harvest of all, you ready for this, is child pornography and child molestation. That's the worst harvest of all. Who would have believed when you was a kid, when you was a young lady, ladies, who would have ever believed that a nation founded on "In God We Trust" by godly men that I mentioned Sunday morning, Washington, Jefferson, and so on, who would have ever believed that that nation would become so corrupt and so degenerated that it would turn on the little children like a beast and abort all those babies? Who would have believed that? And who would have believed it would have been legal? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to say this, and I don't care who knows it. I want you to listen carefully to me. I'm not going to ask you whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. I'm not going to ask that. But before you go to that poll, you better do some research. Or you'll be voting somebody in that office that will abort your grandchildren. Now, you don't have to clap your hands, but I need a hand clap. You need to check that out before you push those signatures or your stamp or you're pushing that little button or whatever, however we're going to vote. You better check that person out. And vote your conviction. Do you believe that? Is that what you believe, that abortion on demand? Do you believe in all of that? If you're saying no, then you better not vote for the person. Is that okay? There's an ever-growing number of parents molesting their children. What a harvest. There's going to be a payday for all the years of greed and lust for money. Somebody said it the other day here at this church. I forget who it was. The more you get, the more you want. And not even the best educated government officials know what's going on in America. They can't tell you. They don't know. This virus thing, they don't know. And you can't believe nothing they say. Because all you got, if you don't like what one is saying, turn it over to the other, and he's saying opposite. So you don't know, which ends up. You don't know what's going on. You don't know how many thousands got it, how many thousands don't have it. You don't know who all died, who all ain't dying. They don't ever tell you who's getting well. They don't want you to know that. I'm talking about the die-hard liberal. They don't tell you who's getting well. They want you to be scared, slap out of your rabbit-running mind. I need to preach. I'm just trying to tell you we're reaping what we've sown through the years. You sow corruption, you reap corruption. You ask God out, God leaves, you got some trouble. Because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's liberty. I want the Spirit of God back in Washington. I don't know about you. I want the Spirit of God back in Nashville. I want the Spirit of God in Covington, Tennessee. I want the Spirit of God in the Board of Education up here. I want Dr. Combs to get baptized in the Holy Ghost. Oh, that's going to be revival. That's going to be revival. Like I said, I like it. He's all right. He's all right. They say, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be, we just going to give you another check. Everything's going to be okay. We're going to increase your unemployment. We're just going to give you another, we're going to send you another couple of $1,000. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay. They're putting a Band-Aid over cancer. That's not the answer. I'm going to tell you the answer. I told you the answer Sunday. I don't know how many of you was listening, but I'm going to tell you one more time the answer. If my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, turn from their wicked ways. He said, I'll hear from heaven. I'll forgive your sins and I'll heal your land. He may not heal this world, but he'll heal your land. He may not do nothing to this world. This virus may be here when I'm pushing up daisies, honey, but let me tell you, God said, I'll build a hedge about you. If you'll pray and seek my face, I'll heal your land and I'll forgive your sin. Amen. That's the answer that our educated governmental authorities has never came up with. One writer even said it, he claimed it very well. He said there'd be a time when they'd be ever learning, but never, 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 never coming to the knowledge of the truth. I'm telling you the truth tonight. I'm telling you the truth tonight. We used to go to a church up on Leaf Street and had a black sister sitting there. She'd sit all the way back in the back, and boy, that preacher'd be preaching, and I'd get tickled at her. She'd say, "Tell us the truth. Tell us the truth." She'd stand up and she'd start singing. What's that song, Sister Chris, she used to sing up there on Leaf Street? I got my, no, see, something about I got my run. No, that's not it. I got it all mixed up. Never mind. I'll tell you Sunday. I'll think of it between now and Sunday. So we're reaping. But now there's the good side. Get me Matthew chapter 25, Sister Chris said. I told her tonight she's going to do some reading for me because I got that cataract in the only eye I can see out of it. You know, you heard that old lady, you blind in one eye, can't see out of it. Well, that's kind of where I've got to that. Matthew 25 and 20. The good side of it is the Lord has got a church that will stand. It don't matter what comes or goes. It don't matter about these viruses. I'd like to see them I'd just like to see them not be here. And I know you would. I'd just like to wake up in the morning and somebody say, "What virus? What are you talking about?" That's what I'd like to see. But it's not going to happen that way. God's going to take care of His church. There's going to be a church that will stand, and that church is going to stand for truth. I said it, the world's going to be worldly, but the church is going to be churchy. There will be a church. There's going to be all kinds of false churches. There's going to be all, I'm not going to read that right now for you. Thank you. There's going to be all kinds of false doctrines. There's going to be all kinds, just like the lady told the preacher that time, that her pastor taught her it was okay, and she was accepting that, and she didn't want to hear nothing else. But there's going to be a church. Let me tell you that there's a true church. There's a lot of daughters from the Mother Harlot church. The Revelation talked about a Mother Harlot. Well, many people believe that it's the Roman Catholic Church. I'm not saying it is. But they said that she's got a lot of daughters. And the daughters are the false churches that don't teach the truth. Having said that, there's a church that does teach the truth. You can't have a phony if you don't have a genuine. There can't be counterfeit if there's not a genuine. The church, true church, will not crash like your computer does. It will not crash. It won't be crippled. It's not going to heaven from a spiritual polio ward. It's going to be strong. It's not going to get mixed up with wickedness. It's going to be a strong church. It won't be weak. It won't be confused. It won't break down. And it won't be directed by any kind of demonic power. There's going to be a church. My responsibility and your responsibility is stay in the church. God will have a faithful, glorious church that will be good, faithful. It won't be backslid. It won't be dead. It'll be powerful. It will be a powerful lighthouse. It won't be depressed. It won't be cast down. It'll have joy unspeakable and full of glory. It don't mean we won't go through trials. It don't mean we won't go through disappointments, and we won't be. It don't even mean we won't get that virus. But I'm telling you, if it takes you out of here, you're just one day closer to glory. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. There's going to be a church. You're in that church. You're in one of the assemblies of that church. We're not the only church, but we're the only doctrinal church, but we are not the only body. There's many bodies. There's many believers. You're a part of it. It's going to be strong. Daniel said it will do exploits. as sin gets worse with drug abuse and violence rising and the economy failing, will these wicked conditions turn the church? No. No. God owns a cattle of 1,000 hills, and all cattle under the hill. I think I quoted that wrong. Will there be anyone left unspotted, uncorrupt, if that's the right word, by this corruption? God still has a people. When he comes back, I heard a preacher say one time that when God comes back, he's going to have a church in the ground. Well, I don't believe it. That's not what I believe. God's church is either with him or it's walking on this earth right now. Those saints that's been buried, their spirit is with God. That's what I believe. God's going to have a people. When he comes back, there's going to be a bride. The Bible, Jude said he's coming back with 10,000s of his saints. Well, he can't bring them with him if they're not with him. Am I right? He's got to have them if he's going to bring them with him. If you got a loved one that's gone on to meet the Lord, put it down. My opinion is they're with the Lord. And they will return with him when he comes. There's going to be a church. We're going to be a part of the greatest thing. The truth is the church is not affected by demons. The church, the economy does not affect the church. The violence in our world, the condition of our world does not affect the church. The persecution will not affect the church. The church will get stronger and more powerful. The Israelites, the more Pharaoh afflicted them, the more they cried out to God. You know what this virus ought to do? Instead of making people stay at home, it ought to make them swarm the church building. It ought to make them swarm these altars and crying out to God more every day. I agree you ought to take care of yourself. You ought to keep yourself safe. I agree. I think you ought to wash your hands every time you turn around. I think you ought to wear your mask when you're in a particular area that you don't know what's going on. I think you ought to condition. I think you ought to protect yourself and all like this. But in the midst of all of that, don't lose fact that you need to pray. You need to pray. How am I doing? Am I doing all right? Am I doing okay? Thank you. Thank you. The truth is, there's a powerful church. I'm trying to skip some pages, and any other time they'd stick together, and they're not sticking together. I believe we're going to see a great move of God in these last days. When God sent plagues in Egypt, God always provided a way. In the last 2,000 years, God has shook this world. And he's going to shake it again according to the Hebrew, right? Hebrews 12:26. Sister Chrissy, can you flip over there? I know I caught you napping. I know I did. I should have told you a long time ago. But Hebrews 12:26. He's going to shake this old world one more time. He's going to shake it. He's shaking it right now, as a matter of fact. It's on the screen. Read it for us, Sister Chrissy.
Whose voice then shook the earth. But now he hath promised, saying,
once more. Go ahead.
I shake not the earth only.
I shake not the earth
but
only.
also heaven.
Right now, the earth is being shaken. Our world is being shaken right now. But God is going to see us through. Because we are the church. When God's people, listen carefully, and I'm fixing to close. When God's people get willing, God will take over. He'll take over us. If I could just give him old Brother Creasy, that's what he's looking for. He's looking for Brother Creasy. Today, hear the word of the Lord. You reap what you sow. We've sowed it in America. We reap it. But the church keeps right on marching. We keep right on going. We're just going to keep on having church. We're going to keep on doing everything we can. The numbers went up today. Crazy. I think I read or heard 2,500 more people in Tennessee today got the virus. 2,500. That's a lot of people, y'all. 6 or 9 in Tipton County. I know the number's going. You say, "Oh, preacher, it's going. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what we're going to do. I'm taking one service at a time. You come in here Sunday, and I may shut the whole thing down. I doubt it, but we're going to do something. We're going to keep living for God, one day at a time. One day at a time. I'm not making my point. We're going to live for God. We're just going to keep on keeping on. My brother Big Stan says that until he comes, we'll simply carry on. We're going to keep praying. We're going to keep preaching. We're going to keep teaching. We're going to keep singing. We're going to keep our praise singers singing. We're going to keep the saints of God coming. We're going to keep giving our tithes and our offerings because bills have still got to be paid. We're just going to keep right on until he comes. We'll simply carry on. We'll preach and pray and sing and shout and carry on. We're going to keep going for Jesus. Sowing produces reaping. If we sow it right, we'll reap it right. If I pray and sow it right, we'll reap it right. Stand with me. God bless you. Thank you, Jesus. Praise the Lord. Altars are open if you want to come and pray. These altars are open. In the name of Jesus. You want to come and stand, if you want to come and kneel, whichever you prefer. Just come and talk to him or pray for him right there. It's fine, whatever you feel to do. It's okay with me. In Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord. God, we appreciate you.
My God, how great you are. How great you are. My God, how great you are. How great you are. My God, how great you are. How great you are. How great